Directingpete Mini VR, one of the maps of all time, and I must say, it is a great experience. It is quite the enjoyable time to play on this map. That's because of how it was built, how it's made, and how it doesn't. It gives you that experience like no other. You don't feel like you're playing the real Fortnite map. You don't feel like it's too complex, too much to do. No, it actually feels like there's not much to do, yet there's still enough to be replayable. It doesn't feel like there's too much. And that's all thanks to it being an old mini BR built on a cavern island. And that is why it's one of the mini BRs of all time, because it's a small battle royale. And this video is my personal review of Directingpete's mini BR. And well, I've got a few points to say about it. And the first one is about all the different POIs, which will be up on screen as I speak about them. The first one is Vicious Valley, which is the POI which is being shown in the first part of the video, and it's a great POI for terrain. The slopes so you can easily get around without building, and like you can just like enjoy yourself there. There's alright loot. It's like number of chests is good enough. Like, you can have a few people land there and you still won't feel like you're leaving with a pistol and like half the ammo and a shotgun. You can actually enjoy yourself there in gathering loot. The only issue with Vicious I can find is that the houses all feel the same interior. Like the interiors all feel the same. You've got the sofa, the carpet, the chairs, the telly, everything's just like repeated in every single house, which is kind of like boring, but it's like if you get over that, it's a great POI to land at, and well yeah, it's quite close to everything else, and it's the only POI in a desert in the entire map, so that's pretty cool. The second POI that I'm going to talk about is Lucid Lakehouse. And Lucid Lakehouse is a very, very tiny POI. It's one building, and that one building, it's just like not much in there. There's only a few chests for the entire building. You couldn't have many people land there, like one person landing there, and they might come out with a full loadout if they're lucky. And yeah, it's not the best. It's got an interesting interior. Like the interior is pretty nice. Like I would want to live there from my house, but I just wouldn't want to land there because it's small, not much loot. It's near the edge. Honestly, it doesn't feel like a good POI to like land at consistently. It might be fun to land at once or twice for challenges and all that, but just not consistent. It's not a proper landing POI. Next POI to talk about is Magic Mountain, and once again it suffers from the small knowledge loot issue, and well yeah, it's also like worse than the previous POI of Lucid Lakehouse because it's not interesting at all. It's just a mountain, and it's difficult to get around because of the terrain of the mountain. I would honestly never land there myself because there's no reason to. Not much loot. You're right in the middle of the map. It's honestly just not a nice place to land. Anywhere else would be better in my opinion. And yeah. Next up is Willowed Woods. And Willowed Woods is like, it's a great POI. Lots of loot, lots of mats, it's large. It's like not made, the only issue is not made for vehicles. But like vehicles are just not intended for this map anyway, so it's just like a great round POI. Lots of people could land there. They'd all get loot. It's honestly enjoyable, and you can easily get out of there. So, Willowed Woods, great POI, just amazing. And the POI basically inside of Willowed Woods is Crystal Cavern, and Crystal Cavern is basically the complete opposite of Willowed Woods. It's small, basically no loot. It's really open, like, and there's a bunch of dead ends there. It's like not I swear, it's just made for people to suffer and to hide like a one vending machine and a couple chests. No one should ever land there if they think about landing near Willowed. It's full. Land anywhere but Crystal Cavern. It's not the. It's a terrible POI in my opinion. On Willowed Woods, just far better if you landed in that area. And next up is the Trapper Towers, which like so much to speak about. It's large, there's a ton of buildings, ton of chests, great vehicle maneuver, whatever the word is. It's just that it's the perfect POI for a city. It's a bit bland with like the tilted tower style buildings, but damn does Pete make it work. It honestly it feels a bit like Tilted with that aesthetic. But God, some of them buildings just are unique enough to fit. Like, you can clearly tell that this is one of the best POIs in the map. It's awesome. It's even got like turrets as well, which is like great for extra fighting. And the turrets are like not put right in the open, and you can't get your own turrets. So they feel right. It's not like you can place them down anywhere and just destroy. No, you have to actually use them. You have to go up there and use them, and they can't come back. So, crisp POI, beautiful, amazing. Definitely land there if you have a chance. Next up is Lighthouse Lake, which is definitely like one of the worst. Around same level as Crystal Cavern. It's just not good. It's small. It's one tiny island with a lighthouse on it. So there's basically no loot. Everywhere around it is water, so you aren't gonna have a fun time moving around there. And well, there's no vehicles that can help you around either. You are literally trapped on that island, a sitting duck. Only way out of there without being shot to death is by building. And unless you're listening to Jason, you ain't gonna survive Lighthouse Lake very well. It's like the only time you'd ever go there is if it's in a final zone, which I don't even think is possible. So yeah, very like bad POI. And second to last POI is Sweaty Swamp, which is very open and it's got mid loot. It's not. There's a bit of loot there, but it's like don't land there. It's just starting POI. It's more something like, oh, I'm passing through here to get to zone. I'll loot up. It's not. It's that type of location where it's useful. There's definitely a reason to have it in the map, but like nobody should ever land there if they have another option. And yeah, final POI I'm going to talk about is hightop houses, and yeah, it's basically just like it's the middle of the road. It's pretty repetitive in their house designs, but it's very linear. But the loot's okay. It's got some interesting stuff. The biggest issue of it, it doesn't feel like a POI. It feels like an extension to Trapper Towers, in my opinion. Like, because it goes straight from the road, not much distance, and also it just doesn't look different. It feels like a suburban area to like a city. It should, in my opinion, it shouldn't have been a POI. It should have just been part of Trapper Towers. I couldn't understand why it was so close to Trapper and all that, because like how small the map was. But it just didn't have enough to differentiate itself from Trapper. It doesn't have anything like, the roads aren't different, there isn't anything to like build it up as this massive POI. It just feels like how Mega Mall did it, with like the mall and a bunch of houses around it. So yeah, that's all I had to say about the POI. And well, let's just talk about the last couple things. The vehicles are alright. Personally, like, I wouldn't use them in the actual matches, because you've got the motorcycles, which are very like frustrating to drive, especially when there's so many like objects that you can't destroy around the map, and the cars are just not worth using at all. But look, what I can say is that the map is very much built for running around as long as you don't go near the edges. Because you can like climb, which wasn't actually a feature back when the map was made, so it's ahead of it. It was ahead of its time. But yeah, basically, maps movement movement is just not the greatest, but it is doable. And now, because of like climbing and all that, you can definitely get across this map pretty well. There ain't any issues with it, and like with all the slopes and all that in the terrain, you're definitely good to get around. Final thing, yeah, lootpool, it's alright. It's heavily reliant on the chests that like the actual BR map has. The actual BR chest. Well, the creative chest, lootpool. And it just doesn't feel right, but then again, this was made a couple years ago. So you gotta cut some slack that back then the lootpool was actually pretty decent. And yeah, that's basically the end of the video. I'm going to give the rating of the Season 1 map a 7 out of 10. It's a good map. It's very, like, it's playable. I'd rather play it than VR half the time. Small, compact, enjoyable experience. But there is definitely a few flaws there. It's not top tier, but it definitely ain't bottom tier. That's the end of this video. If you enjoyed it, hit the thumbs up button, subscribe. Join up Discord link in the description, and I'll see you on the next video. Goodbye!